Today's guest is Bridger Rogers. Bridger is the CEO and co-founder of Kinobody Coaching, also known as Movie Star Body Accelerator. He is business partners and best friends with the internet fitness celebrity Gregor Gallagher, who founded the iconic fitness brand Kinobody over a decade ago in 2011. In this interview, you will uncover what it takes to run a 5 million plus per year coaching business and scale to a 15-person sales floor in under 6 months. Bridger reveals powerful techniques that he's used to transform his strongest desires into a living reality and the life of his dreams. He's on a mission to hit the billion mark and then scale from there. You will learn a lot about what it takes to become a master of influence, persuasion, high-ticket sales, willpower, and discipline, and developing a vision that people are willing to die for.
So Bridger, when I first met you, I think it was back in 2017, 2018, I think you slid into my DMs trying to sell me some fitness program back then. And it's really cool to see, how far you've came. I feel like I've grown a ton, in the past six years or so. And I just want to thank you, coming out to Austin today.
Dude, thanks for having me, man. Austin is beautiful. If you've never been to Austin, 10 out of 10 recommend. Yeah, dude, funny enough, kind of jumping right in, I just finished watching The Wolf of Wall Street. I watched that movie at 2017. Yeah. And immediately after I watched that movie, I had something flip inside of me that made me want to just get on the phones and start selling, learning how to sell. And that kind of started my journey on where I am today, which we're here to talk about. So I'll let you kind of kick it off. But yeah, man, it's been a pleasure seeing you grow, man. You've been crushing it. Yeah. This is the guy that actually got me in the Instagram game, helped me kind of scale my Instagram page. Back in the day, we were doing some fan page strategies, which was fun. Yeah. And now you got all kinds of cool stuff you're working on.
No, it's crazy, bro. And yeah, we have a few people out here in Austin. I think everyone's been really impactful on my life, and hopefully I've had some sort of impact on theirs as well. I really appreciate you coming out. I think you were one of the first clients, and then you introed me to another powerful figure. Yep. He's crushing in the space. So really thankful for that. And I think that was kind of the first confidence that I gained, and that came from you. So I think that was really cool. And then we met in person in Miami. Was that 2019 or?
Yeah, it was 2019. We were there for the MG the Motivated by Greatness event. Shout out to them. That was an epic event. Went to Peanut Island. You remember that? We went to Peanut Island. If you guys haven't been to Peanut Island in Miami, you go to this little island and you have to take a ferry in. And when you get to the ferry, it's this probably maybe half a mile long island with tons of palm trees. And I remember I still have this video. I scaled this tree. Do you remember that?
You tore up your feet.
Yeah, I tore up everything. And I pulled down these coconuts and then we cracked them open and we drank the coconut juice. We'll throw a photo up for you guys, but it was quite the experience, man. And we got to network with some of the other guys, and then from there, I think we kind of had like a brotherhood. We've kind of kept in touch ever since.
Yeah, it was good. And I think this is the first time seeing you in probably a year or two now. And right now you're running a multi-million-dollar sales team. You guys have scaled tremendously quick. I know you guys have a whole little motto, so I'll tell you, I'll let you say a little bit more about that. But tell me how you got started with that, because I know you closed a good amount of sales over at another company as well, and kind of transitioned in this role. So
totally. So I wanted to create a career, a business that was in alignment with what I call basically the Career Triad. Okay. There's really 3 areas. If you're watching this, you're not quite sure kind of what career path you should take, how you should make a good amount of money. The first thing you need to look at is what you're naturally good at. Okay, your talent. Okay, what do you naturally excel at? If you were to take 100 people from your high school, line them up, and if you were to all do the same thing, you would excel and be in the top 10, 20, even 1%. What are those skills? And for me, it was leadership. It was confidence, sales, skills, ability to communicate, draw people together behind a common vision, and the ability to articulate my ideas and then push those ideas out in the world. And then the second thing you want to look at is, what do you have like a natural tendency or curiosity to learn? Because I think it's important to take something that you're naturally good at, pair it with something you naturally have a tendency to want to learn a lot about. You pair those together, that's when talent and hard work combine. And when that happens and you meet the third requirement for I think the Career Triad, which is the right niche or the right industry, okay, the right vertical. Because if you're in a space that does not have the potential for you to make whatever type of money you want to make, whether it's 100,000, 200,000, 400,000, 4 million a year, 40 million a year, 400 million a year, 4 billion, you have to be in the right space. Okay. You can't expect, I mean, maybe, I'm sure there's people doing it this day and age, but you can't expect to do underwater basket weaving, if and make $100,000 a year, right? You need to have the right vertical. So for me, I was like, what is that vertical? What's the thing that I could do that I'm not capped by income? And sales was that thing. And so tying back in, I started watching The Wolf of Wall Street, gave you a call, tried selling you something. You flipped the script on me, sold me on something. So props to you. And then from there, man, I ended up selling all kinds of stuff. I started I'm very entrepreneurial. I came up with all kinds of offers. My first program I ever created was called the Freedom Schedule Blueprint.
I remember that.
You remember that?
I remember that. I think you tried to sell me on that too.
Did I? Okay,
yeah.
So this was the $7 program, $7 digital product with a couple upsells. And I think I did like $2,000 the first week off a $7.
And you were 19, 20 at the time?
I was 18 when I launched that. It was January 1st of 2019.
Okay.
That was my first product. And it was really fulfilling. I had one guy that joined that with the program actually got off of drugs, got off of alcohol. Wow. He got his motorcycle license that he was putting off for a long time. And it was really how to take what your highest values are in life and put together a schedule that I call a freedom schedule. Cause I think that, freedom comes only when you're disciplined. If you're not disciplined, you're never going to have freedom. And so then from there, I went on to partner with Greg, and that's when we kind of took things off and, you helped us scale things with the Instagram type things and stuff like that. And then after that, I kind of went through a period, it was actually very depressing time because I built this success, manufactured this celebrity, and then all came crashing down because I lacked the leadership skills, lacked the ability to read people and hire the right people to control my environment. And so because of that, it ended up kind of coming down. So it came down. I was 18. I'm sitting there wondering, okay, I just made all this money. I had this success and now it's all came crashing down. What do I do next? And so I kind of stumbled for a couple of years and was trying to figure out what that thing was. I tried starting different offers. Nothing really took off. I was kind of just barely paying my bills. And finally I was like, you know what? I think I need to just do what I'm best at, which is sales. And so I went and one of my friends introed me to, shout out to my buddy Alex. He introduced me to this company. It was like one of these sourcing remote sales reps, filmed a little video and then sent the video in. And then I got hired by a guy named Todd Brown. I found out, he's one of the top internet marketers. He coaches guys like Russell Brunson, Agora Financial, things like that. So I worked for him. And right after I paid my rent, right before working for them, it was March 1st of 2021. I paid my rent. I had $32 in my bank account. Wow. $32 in my bank account. And I was like, I have to find a way to make this work. And one of the things that I think has always stayed with me, that's a core part of who I am, is my faith. Okay. My faith in God, my faith that he's always watching over me. He's always protecting me. And I never once doubted that God would protect and provide for me. Not once. And I think that faith actually grew in that time of struggle. And I think the people that have never had that, if they grew up in a wealthy family, if they never really went through a very intense either financial or, health struggle, then there's something that is missing from them pushing really hard and taking things to the next level in their life. And so luckily I embraced that. And as soon as I got into this position, I went balls to the wall. Okay. They put me in as a setter for the first week just to get ramped up.
And is this with the same company in 2021?
Yeah, Todd Brown.
This is Todd Brown. Okay.
So I'm setting for Todd Brown, come in, blow everyone out of the water by like 4
And for people that don't
5x.
know what setting is, if they're watching this, what is setting?
That's a good question. So setting is very simple. So in the online coaching space, it's calling up a lead, whether that's someone who opted into a webinar or VSL or a customer. In this case, it was actually their top buyers, people who had bought their products. And I'd call them up and whatever the script is that the company gives you, it's usually something like, hey, this is Bridger calling from Todd Brown's office. Actually noticed that you're on our VIP list. And the reason I'm reaching out is Todd's actually doing a special, for his VIP list. If you get in the program for the month of January, we're actually able to offer you XYZ discount. Wanted to get you hooked up with someone that can maybe get you some more information. Is that something you're interested in? So then you gauge interest.
Yes, I am.
You gauge interest, then you set the appointment, and then the closer will get on the call call. We'll dive deeper into their pain, put together a game plan, and then close them and collect the payment on that program or product or service. And I think that's what you do. For the audience maybe who's never seen your content before, do you want to share a little bit about your SDR program?
Yeah, and that's something we can definitely hop into. But yeah, let's just. I think I'm really curious to hear more about how the setting things really kind of played in for you, and how you grew within Todd Brown. So and this is what we work on too. But I'd love to hear more about that, man.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it. He's a very humble guy. His program's legit. You got to check it out if you haven't. So moving forward with the story, long story short, I came in, and within the first month of closing that position, I made $8,000 in commission.
Wow.
$8,000 in commission. I'm like, wow, I'm actually pretty good at this. And I went from 8 to 12 to 15 to 22,000, to 20,000. And then I took a little break, started my own offer. It was like a dating automation. I called it Millionaire Dating Automation. It was kind of a fun offer. I hired some VAs in the Philippines to run the dating apps for some higher end clients. We got automated dates. That was a lot of fun.
So how does that work? How does that work? Because we were talking with one of our guys, Bruno, here as well. Yep. Tinder automation, Hinge automation. Yep. How does dating automation
How does it work? Well, you got to build a system, right? You got to build a system. The system was complicated. I created basically a dating funnel. Okay. Created a dating funnel. And for those of you who don't know what a funnel is, it's basically something that you put a bunch of stuff in at the top and it filters out to the end where you've got the good stuff, right? Or like a panning for gold, right? You take all the rocks, pan it out, and then you get gold at the bottom.
And you did that for dates.
I did that for dates, man. I was like sitting there, as I was crushing it in the sales position, I was realizing the more time that I spend on these dating apps, the less money I'm making. The more time that I can spend on closer calls, the more money I can make. So I was like, I can't be spending 3-4 hours a day or 2-3 hours a day on these apps or 1 hour a day. So I was like, what if there was a way I could automate it? And so I went ahead and hired a virtual assistant, trained them on my specific type of girl that I thought was attractive. Wow. And they would literally swipe for me.
They swipe for you.
They take the matches and they put them in a Slack channel for matches.
There's a Slack channel.
I'd go through and check mark the ones that I thought were attractive. And then they would go into a texting automation sequence that I trained them on in a lucid chart. Whereas like if then, right? If they said this, then you say this, if then, and it was all in my own voice. So it was authentic as if I were to message them. And then they'd set the date. And then pretty soon I'd check my calendar at the end of the workday and I'd have 2 or 3 dates for the week.
So you have sales calls during the day.
Yep.
And then you have just dates at night. It's like someone set you the dates.
Somebody set the dates. I'd literally look, okay, I got a date at, I'd give them my favorite restaurants and they would just schedule the dates.
So do you get tired of like going on dates? Like I feel like that's a lot of dates.
Dude, honestly, at the time, no. Okay. Because it was fun. They were engaging. I was picking the girls that I thought were attractive. I'm very extroverted. So I only need about an hour a day, if that, maybe 30 minutes to recharge at night.
Really?
Yeah, I'm very extroverted. I'm like 99% extrovert. I can spend just, less than an hour a day recharging. And the rest of the time I can be with people and be 100% energized. In fact, if I spend not enough time with people, I find that my energy's lower.
Really?
Yeah. So I enjoyed the dates. I will say that, that strategy is a little bit harder now with the way that the dating apps are cracking down on like the
it's like Instagram's algorithm. Yeah.
Just like
this is back in 2018 when they shut us all down. Yeah.
They shut us all down, man. So I don't do that anymore. I shut that business down. And now, funny enough, I've been reading a lot in one of my favorite books. For those of you who haven't read it, you got to read the book Think and Grow Rich. In fact, one of my sales trainers on my team, his name's Brian, his kid is, he's like, man, I want to make some money. I was like, okay, I got a challenge for you. Okay. And so we created this challenge. Okay. We call it the Bridge the Gap Challenge. Okay. The Bridger Challenge, right? So I give him a challenge. I said, his name's Zane. Okay. We just call him Z-Man. So Z-Man, I said, how would you like to make $100? And he was like, dude, I would love to make $100. What would you buy with $100? And he's 10 years old. So he's like Legos, Pokemon cards, all this cool stuff. I'm like, okay, I'll make you a deal. I'm going to give you 5 tasks to do every single day. And if you do them for every single day for 30 days, I'll give you a $100 bill at the end. He's like, what? Are you serious? I'm like, absolutely. So I bought him a journal for him to start writing his goals down every single day and planning his day the night before. I bought him a planner at 10 years old. So this kid's 10 years old. He's waking up in the morning. He's doing 50 push-ups, 30 sit-ups. He's writing his goals down, and then he's reviewing his day every single day, and he's planning his day the night before. So those are the tasks. Number 1 is you write your top 5 goals down every day. Number 2, you plan your day the night before. Number 3, you do a workout, 30 sit-ups, 50 push-ups. Number 4, you read 5 pages of Think and Grow Rich. And then number 5, you do 3 minutes of typing. Because I was thinking about what are the skills that if you master those at a young age, like 10, are going to make you as much money or as much freedom as you want in the new economy. And I was like, okay, well, you're going to need to interact with text. That's typing. And you need to learn how to read and decipher information. So that's reading. Okay. Especially the right material. And you're also going to need to get really clear on exactly what it is you want, because there's this part of your brain called the reticulator activating system. If you look it up, it's the part of our brain that allows us to have extreme sensory acuity. Have you ever studied the RAS or like a sensory acuity?
I've never done sensory acuity.
Okay.
I know of something kind of what you were talking about though. And I feel like, so there's something called the marshmallow test. And they tested a batch of kids that, they put the marshmallow in front of them and they're like, hey, if you wait, 15 minutes and you don't eat this marshmallow, then we'll give you another. Right. And they tested those batch of kids and they found that the ones that actually did wait that 15 minutes, because they had, delayed gratification, when they tested them later on in life, so they actually followed these kids for multiple, like 10, 20 years and saw where they ended up. And they saw that the kids that had delayed gratification, had better SAT scores, better grades, they ended up making more money, they had better relationships. And it's because of that delayed gratification. And I think, that story with the 10-year-old kid, right? Mm-hmm. I think a lot of that ties back in because, he has to do this for 30 days. It's not just a, hey, and maybe the test could have been, hey, we give you $5 if you do it for one day. Right. But if you do it for 30, then you won't get the $5 now, but you'll receive the 100 at the end and kind of see where he ends up. I think a lot of people just in life don't have that mindset to, delay gratification enough to receive the results. And that's why I think a lot of people aren't necessarily, where they want to be. So I think, that's really cool that you were teaching him there. But off your point about that brain system thing, I'd love to hear more.
Sensory acuity. Okay, this is the ability for humans to become crazy, psycho, obsessed, aware of what's going on around them. Because a lot of people, who get super woo-woo into the law of attraction, right? If I think about $1 million check, boom, it'll come. The reality is that the law of attraction is just an ability to become hyper aware of the thoughts, of the actions, of the people, of the opportunities, of the places that you'll need to have put in order for you to knock down your goals.
Right.
So for me to be able to make millions and millions of dollars, I'm going to need to own a business. That's the most surefire way legally to make that much money. What are the skills that I need to put in place? What are the opportunities I need to attract? And who's the man I need to become? Those are the questions that I started to ask myself as I set my eye on becoming a multimillionaire and becoming successful. And that is essentially what you can do. And that's what I'm training Z-Man how to do at a very young age. Yeah. And what I also told them, which is part of the challenge, is if you miss even one day, even one task on the entire thing, 14 days in, even 29 days in, you have to restart. You don't get the $30. That's the delayed gratification, because a lot of people will go 80%, 90%, 95%, but they don't ever finish the last 5%. In fact, one of my mentors, he was listening to an old Tony Robbins cassette tape way back in the day, and he was saying that like over 95% of people never finish a program they start or book they start, right? Most people are not finishers, and that's one of the most important skills that I was trying to teach him in this. And you can manufacture your own challenge for this sort of a exercise. You could think of what are the 5 things that you need to do on an ongoing basis that are going to move the needle for you and develop the skills.
Yeah, man. And I think for you, and I'm curious to hear kind of your thoughts on this. I know you mentioned you went through a whole stage of, depression and, feeling down. So how did you make that transition into, hey, we're going to go, learn sales. We're going to go start making money. We're going to go start being, a man who's more successful. Like what mindset shifts did you need to make, or what habits did you need to change to get out of that slump?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think a lot of people watching this, whether it was COVID, whether you lost a job, you lost a loved one, you're just struggling with feeling lost in life or feeling like you're not good enough. I mean, these are very common things that I think most of us experience in life. And one of the things that I've found is that it's, life is not linear. My success path hasn't been linear. It's been a bit of a bit of a ladder, right? Where I'll get it going. I'll start seeing some success, and then I'll plateau out. I'm like, why the heck am I not growing? Why is all this effort that I'm putting in, it's not growing? And then all of a sudden, boom, I hit another spike, and then I level out again. It's because the things that you're doing are stacking on top of each other. And then once that last straw on the camel's back pops through, the ice breaks through the water line, right? And so I think a lot of people give up at the 1 yard line, right? Which is what some of these motivational speakers talk about. Like, most people give up on the 1 yard line, right? And so for me, when I had a couple different times in my life where I've experienced a massive setback, disappointment, failure, adversity, hardship. And, I won't go into the detail of my biggest hardship, but that was basically a health crisis that I went through when I was like 15, 16, where I was like bedridden for 18 months. You could probably Google or YouTube me and hear the rest of that story, but it's a long story. But long story short, during that time, what I learned is that you get out of life what you fight for. And there was a moment when I looked in the mirror and I just saw this skinny, weak, insecure, unconfident guy, depressed, unmotivated, felt like I was going nowhere in life. And I was just like, you know what? I'm done being a loser. I'm done being a little bitch. I'm ready to flip the switch. I'm ready to take things to the next level. And I was like, I'm going to do whatever it takes to become successful. I will do whatever it takes to become healthy. I'll do whatever it takes to achieve my goals. I will not be a sick kid the rest of my life. And from that moment on, I made that decision, and that decision changed my life. I think that you're one decision away from changing your life. It doesn't take years for you to change your life. It takes one decision that maybe takes years for you to get to. But once that decision is made, you can make lasting forever change that compounds throughout the rest of your life, that echoes through eternity.
So for people that are maybe struggling right now, and for people that, maybe they're looking at themselves in the mirror and they're like, oh shit, I don't like, this person that I am right now, or, they want to make the change. How can someone expedite that decision? Because I feel like, cause I've been there too, right? Like I stuttered for, maybe 8 years, right? From age 12 to like 20. And it's, it still comes up here and there. And, there's flashbacks with that. And, there's traumas and past things. So like, how does someone, I guess, look past those traumas and I guess flip the switch faster, as you would say? Because I feel like a lot of people try to make the switch, or they maybe join that program and they're like, oh, this didn't solve my problems. Which I think is crazy, because it's like, there's so many skill sets you might have to learn to achieve one thing.
Yeah.
But like, for your experience, like what made you not relapse, but like not go back to the person that you were before, and what kept you on that path to get you to where you are today?
Yeah, that's a great question. And appreciate you sharing, what you've gone through. I actually didn't know that about you, funny enough,
really?
because you've done such a good job leveling up yourself that it's not apparent. But
I learned from you.
Dude,
Yeah.
we learn from each other, man.
Yeah.
But I got a guy I need you to meet that stutters pretty bad. And I was telling him, like, dude, if you slow down your words, right? If you become present and confident, then the stuttering will cease to exist. Right. And I'm curious, like, I'm sure there's other people on the camera that stutter. In a second, I'd love to hear kind of how you overcame that, because I'd love to be able to help the next person that I meet overcome that. Do you want to share on that real quick?
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, it was, because I realized that most people in life don't really give a fuck about you. Like, most people don't really care. Most people are very, involved in their lives. They're focused on their own goals. They're focused on their things. And I think it almost came from a place of ego, that I thought I was so important in this world, right? That, I was overthinking that people judge me for this thing.
Yeah.
And I realized at the end of the day, nobody really cared. Yep. And I think, maybe that sounds sad and depressing that nobody really cares. But if you can embrace that mindset, I feel like it also allows you to be a lot freer.
Yeah.
Right? Because then you're not worried about, what is this person going to think?
Yeah.
How does this person make me feel? Right? Because at the end of the day, if you become, confident within yourself, right? And embrace your own miscomings, or whatever the word you want to use for that. I think that's the biggest thing. And that was the biggest learning experience. It was just continuing to make myself believe that, hey, this doesn't really matter. Because it doesn't at the end of the day. People will forget, right? And something I always admired from you is the way you built relationships. And, you know, it was even how you approach women and, you know, go through all your things. But it's like, I feel like so many people overthink. And I think when it comes to sales too, dating is just like sales. Yeah. Right?
In what way?
Like, and I have a girlfriend now, so like this is different.
I'm sorry.
But
I know he's
Maria,
handsome,
shout out to
charming,
you. Maria, shout out
successful.
to you. But
I'm single.
He's single. But I feel like when you're dating, right, it's like a sales funnel. It's like you're prospecting, right? You might go to the club. We have another guy here that you know, does some dating coaching too. And like, you know, it's all prospecting because, you know, a woman or, you know, a guy, if you're going after that, like they're going to forget about you 2 minutes later, 30 seconds later. There's so much in their life. And I feel like so many people put too much importance on that one interaction that replays in their head over and over and over. And like with stuttering, I realized that nobody cared. And people might make fun of it or whatever. They might say something, but 30 seconds later, they're back to their own thing. So at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
And I feel like with sales, that's a huge thing as well. Because once you embrace the no and once you expect no, I think it reframes your whole reality. Because if you're expecting no, then the only thing that you can get that would be better is a yes. But I think if you're expecting yes, then vice versa, then you're always let down, right? So I think that shift in my mindset, you know, and I think that's what I'm most thankful that, you know, kind of stuttering and going through all that shit taught me was that, you know. And I mean, you're now training, how many people is it on the sales team?
I think we just hired
Kinobody?
Another 6 reps. So I think we're at 16 sales reps.
16 sales reps. So like for them, I'm curious, like when they get in their head or maybe when you got in your head when you were, you know, selling whatever it is, how do you come back to being grounded, removing ego, get it like, you know, coming back to reality?
Yeah, this is a great question because I think a lot of people have what's called call reluctance.
Call reluctance.
Yeah.
Okay. Call reluctance.
You know call reluctance?
I'm not sure.
So call reluctance is
our sales team's way better at sales than
the
I am,
ability or what's that?
I said our sales team's way better at sales than I am, so
that's awesome. So you want to hire people better. I respect that. So call reluctance is this built up kind of anxiety to make calls. Okay, so basically you're just afraid of either failing, you're afraid of whatever it might be, manufactured fear of failure is essentially what it is, and they're afraid to hit the phones. They're afraid to make that call because of the fear of rejection or what might happen as a result of that. Them getting judged by their peers, them not being good enough at the end of the day, whatever it might be. And a lot of guys, I think, feel that. They feel like if I approach this girl, I'm going to get made fun of by my friends, or I'm going to look stupid at the restaurant, other people are going to judge me, or yada, yada, yada. They just make excuses. At the end of the day, you said it perfectly. You're already at a no. You're already at a no. So the worst case scenario is you get what you're already at, which is a no. And the best case scenario is you get better for the next time. So eventually you can get a yes and eventually have a beautiful girlfriend, wife, family, kids, etc.
It was junior year, you know, back at Vanderbilt.
Okay.
You know, or maybe sophomore year. It was maybe end of sophomore year. Everyone's going through consulting, investment banking. You know, they're all going to make 6 figures, you know, coming out of college. But along with that, right, it was, they got to be in one location. They got to, you know, work 60 to 80 hours a week. You know, maybe you get your 1 or 2 weeks vacation time, you know, and then you do that hoping that you know, work your way up to partner, you know, maybe pull a few mil here and there. But, you know, when you talk about bridging the gap, you know, I think my gap was the gap for freedom with what I wanted to achieve for my life, right? You know, in the past 2 years, traveled to 13 or 14 different countries. Right now we're renting, you know, the Airbnb, renting the car. I don't own, you know, any property, no car, no place to be. And I think it's allowed me to see so much of the world, you know, and interact with so many different cultures. And I think the hardest thing was I guess, have that trigger that allowed me to, I guess, expand that gap, as you said. And I think it was, one or two mentors that finally allowed that to click for me. And it was more, I finally had belief in myself that I could do it. But for you, what do you feel like was the one core thing, because there's so many different things that you said kind of went through it. But like, what was that one thing, if you can attribute to any, that put you in that position to, expand that gap to where you're at now, fucking crushing it with the sales team, you're more energetic than ever. So yeah, is there like one thing?
Honestly, man, I would say the number one thing that has contributed to my success is my mentors.
Yeah.
I think that I have been blessed to have some of the best, most world-class mentors that truly take me under their wing and treat me like their little brothers and like they're basically like I'm a mini version of them in some way, right? And my ability to attract great mentors, I think, has allowed me to excel so rapidly because people just naturally want to pour into me.
What is that ability, though? Because I feel like there's a lot of people watching this that might want a mentor. They might, want to invest in a program. Or what ability do you feel like you possess that allows you to attract great mentors? This coffee's strong. Dude, it's a straight black. Dude, this is my fucking like sixth cup of coffee today. I'm not sure if it's a good thing. I came down with a sinus infection last night too.
Dude, the sinus infection's no joke, man. The pressure when you're flying, brutal.
Yeah. I was scared it was COVID.
You gotta get Aura Ring, bro. Shout out to Aura Ring. Okay. They're gonna sponsor me. They haven't already. But seriously, track your sleep. It's actually very
What was your sleep score last night?
85.
Is that good?
It's pretty damn good, dude. Anything above 70 is like pretty solid.
What do you average?
Honestly, I just got it like 2 or 3 weeks ago, so I'd have to see what the trend is. I think it's like 75 or something. Okay. I sleep pretty good. I sleep pretty good. I work really hard. I hit my workouts, get my 10K steps, do my vitamin D every day, get my 20 minutes of sunshine on the face. So that helps with my sleep. And then I try to do like some journaling, some meditation, so my mind's not racing at night.
How do you calm yourself down? Because I feel like, dude, my anxiety has been fucking peak. It's been peak. We've onboarded so many people on the team. I'm trying to get into this whole meditation thing. So how do you ground yourself?
Yeah, I think it's some of the things that I said. It's moving. I think that when you get into a kind of a funk type of a state, the body moves. I think, emotion comes from energy, right? From moving, right? From motion. Emotion comes from motion, right? Because if you move your body a certain way, like Tony Robbins is big on this, like state control, moving your body a certain way, it can actually change the actual chemicals in your body.
Wow.
So for me, I was talking to a mentor about this, or friend about this, and I was like, and by the way, the ultimate level of mentorship is friendship. You should always try to make your mentors, your friends. So
it's like the whole five people. You're the average of like the 5 people you spend the most time with.
100%. And then with a mentor, it's good to have them, but they can almost be on a bit of a pedestal, right? It's good to have them, but the more that you can condense that gap by leveling it up rapidly is super important. So for me to handle my anxiety as stress, I think it's number one, it's releasing control. I think a lot of us try to be control freaks, hold control. I release control to God, and I let go and let God, as they say, right? So I pray. For me, you could do whatever you want. You could document, you could write it down, universe, whatever. I believe in God. I believe that He's got a plan and purpose for my life. There's a lot of really powerful scriptures. I believe the word of God is living and breathing. It's powerful. It speaks. It's the most powerful book on the world. And I think that there's one verse that really speaks to me that I always repeat to myself, which is Jeremiah 29:11. And it says that, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans not for destruction and ruin, but to give you hope and a future. So anytime that I'm stressed or I'm struggling or I'm fearful or whatever, I repeat Bible verses to myself just on autopilot. If I'm afraid, for I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, right? Psalms 23. So like I'll repeat these verses to myself, or it's like Resist the devil and he will flee, right? Anytime I'm tempted with temptation, doing something I shouldn't, right? Repeating these Bible verses to myself is just like kind of like a positive affirmation. For each person's different. Maybe it's a certain saying that your grandpa told you, your dad told you. I think the Bible's really powerful. So figuring out what those triggers are, those words for you that you could say to yourself on repeat when you hit anxiety. You know what? Everything's going to be okay. God's in control, right? Or everything's going to be okay. The universe will work itself out. You know what? Everything's going to be okay. I've got the best team in the world. Whatever that thing is that kind of helps self-loathe or calm you down. And then I think it's important to journal. There's actually been some serious scientific studies shown that when you get your thoughts out on paper, it completely changes the junk that's running around in your head. So I have a journal right next to my bed, Kekoa. And so anytime that I think of something, whether it's a good business idea, something I want to implement with my team, I get that out onto paper before I go to bed, because I know if I sit there, I'm going to continue to expand on that because we're entrepreneurs and we're obsessed. So get it on paper and say, you know what, I'm going to come back to that in the morning. Boom, leave that down. And then also write down 3 things I'm grateful for at night. I don't do this always, especially when I'm traveling. Things get a little crazy. My routine gets thrown off. But most of the time, I'm going to be, thinking about things I'm grateful for, smiling before I go to bed, thinking about things that I'm grateful for, X, Y, Z. So getting into a state of gratitude. It's super hard to be anxious and depressed and grateful. Actually, it's impossible. You can't experience gratitude and bliss with stress and anxiety. So flipping the switch and getting into a place of gratitude and perspective and wow, you know what? I actually have a team. I have the ability to hire more people.
Yeah.
Right. And just being okay with failure. Like again, accepting the worst case scenario and then and thinking about the best case scenario kind of helps you justify where you're at in life.
Yeah. I'm curious because you guys are in pretty competitive space. You guys are in the fitness space right now, and for me at least, like the people, I feel like comparison's the root of all evil. There's that saying. Yeah. But, I've always compared myself to guys, that are 30 years old, 40 years old, that have already made, 100 million, 500 million. Right. And I feel like anything less than that's like almost unacceptable, which I think pushes me to pursue a lot bigger goals. But I guess with that comparison, while I feel like it drives me to push harder, that's also, that's the driver for potential anxiety and potential, other things. So I guess how do you navigate that, being in such a competitive space, and I guess maybe just like not compare, like I guess, do you struggle with that at all, or are you just a fucking tank? And no, I'm just curious. I'm just curious.
Comparison is a stealer of joy, and I'll tell you why. Never compare your chapter 1 with someone else's chapter 10. Okay, this is something that I did, but then I had my mentors remind me, dude, you're 19 years old. Dude, you're 18 years old. Dude, you're 20 years old. You're doing this. You are 99.99999% ahead of everybody else. Most people are just getting out of college at my age, and I'm running a multi-million-dollar company, right?
But do you feel like that comparison is also negative? Because then it's more just like tying to your ego. Because I had a whole thing where I was like, I have to be better than this person because of X. But in reality, like, you don't have, like, you're just competing against yourself. So I guess, because that's what I've aimed to shift more. Because I think, like, I was talking with Bruno today about this too, but I started the business almost out of spite for, past traumas that I went through. And I think it started off, as unhealthy. It was, it was more of a coping mechanism. And now it's shifted to, hey, we're, literally helping everyone on the team. Nothing could run without team. Team's fucking amazing. The students are getting incredible results. They're changing their lives. They're shifting those mindset beliefs, that might keep them in a negative financial situation.
Yep.
But through that too, I think the biggest learning experience for me is getting rid of that ego associated with, I'm doing better. So I guess, what are your thoughts on, comparing yourself to other people that aren't at your level, at your age, well, with this, to be accounted for?
I think it's good to have a little comparison, because if you don't have any comparison, then you don't know how to, like, we're naturally tribal people, and it's natural to compare yourself to other members of the tribe and society. I don't think that you should take it to an extreme to where if you are not better than this person, then that steals from your joy or confidence.
Sure.
I think it's a way for you to get perspective on your life and what's possible. Because when Bannister broke the 5-minute mile,
4-minute mile,
it completely shifted everyone else's beliefs and thoughts and what's possible. And that year later, I think it was like 350 people went on to do the 4-minute mile.
Yeah.
Okay, so we naturally compare ourselves to others, and I think that if you do it in a healthy way where it's like, wow, this person's younger than me, and they're doing more than me, that should inspire you.
Yeah.
So for me, I use comparison to inspire and to empower me to what's possible. If he can do it, then I can do it because of my level of confidence. And so I think that's where comparison shifts from comparing yourself to envy and jealousy.
Yeah. Okay. So comparison's good, but it depends on the perspective of that comparison and where you go after. Okay.
I agree with that. And I think that you shouldn't always be comparing yourself to others. I don't think that your benchmark should be, we're here and they're there. I mean, that's, competitive. That's the competitive nature, is you're comparing yourself to the sports team. You're comparing yourself to other team members. I think you need to have that. That creates a competitive environment that's somewhat healthy. But when you take it to the extreme where it's like, I'm depressed if I don't beat this person, that's not healthy. And I think ultimately the highest level of comparison that you can do is with the past self. Am I better than when I woke up? Am I 1% better every single day? And in fact, the last sales job that I worked at, that was literally on the end of day report. Did I become 1% better today?
That's a good thing to add.
Every single day. And if you stack that up, there's this, I'm reading this book right now called The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. Great book. That's the book club. I'm in the book club, guys, all right? And we're reading this book. So in The Slight Edge, it talks about 2 types of sons. Okay, there's this rich king, and he said, son, 2 sons, you guys get to pick. You either get $1 million right now cash, give it to you, or a penny that doubles every single day for 30 days. And one of the sons took $1 million and the other son took a penny. And if you do the math, you'll actually end up with like 10 million bucks after 30 days or something like that. And so that is why you don't want to compare yourself, because you don't know, how good you can be. Because if you're comparing yourself to John and John's doing 10 million a year, maybe God created you to do 100 million a year. And if you compare yourself to John, that's your cap. You beat him. Okay, I'm done. I got to 11 million. I beat John. I'm done. Versus how good did God create you to be? How good can you be? How far can you go? How many lives can you change? That's the journey that I'm on. There's this good book that I'm actually excited to read. It's called Infinite Game. Have you read it?
No, I haven't read.
So one of my buddies was talking to me about this, and he was talking about how there's a finite game and infinite game. And most people are playing a finite game. Once I get to $1 million, I'm going to retire. I'm going to pull the cord on it. I'm going to cash out. Once I get to 6% body fat, once I get to this, once I get to that, once I have the kids, once I have this, and they push out and delay their happiness until they hit that level. And you'll find that most people that get to that level are never actually truly happy.
That's the balance.
Yeah.
I think I was chasing after all these just random numbers.
Yeah.
And I never really understood, the reason why. And I think I've realized that, I view business as a game, right? Mm-hmm. Sales is a game. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I'll hop on sales calls and it's fun to play that game, mm-hmm. right? To see if you can take someone from not knowing you at all to trusting in you, to aligning with your vision, and to make that purchasing decision. I think that's one of the funnest games mm-hmm. that there is. I played baseball for 14 years, from age 4 to 18. Vanderbilt won number 1 in national championship and never could, continue playing that game. I feel like that was a finite game, mm-hmm. but I feel like that shifted more to the more infinite game, mm-hmm. kind of as you said with, mm-hmm. with the business. Mm-hmm. And I think it's just really, really cool to build massive things. And, that's been the biggest shift in perspective I've made, is that it's not even, a specific number anymore. It's just like, how big can we grow it? Mm-hmm. And I think, top guys in our space doing 3 to 4 million a month. Mm-hmm. And it's crazy to see that, mm-hmm. Cause now I'm like, okay, that's possible. Mm-hmm. How can we beat it? Right. And it's just, how can we beat our records mm-hmm. and keep going? And I think that's been a really great perspective shift recently, of just to shift to that sort of game.
100%. Hit the billion mark, and then we'll scale from there.
And scale from there.
That's my saying. And you could plug any number in. For me, it's the billion mark, but yours could be, you know what, we're going to hit 1 million a month, whatever your goal is, and then we'll scale from there. And the mindset behind that is the infinite game. It's not a number we're chasing after. It's how good can we get? How far can we go? How many lives can we change? And, you know, for me, that's really why I got into business, is to change lives, to impact people.
Yeah.
And I'm changing every single person on my team's life. I get to pour into them. I get to coach them. I get to mentor them. I get to lead them. I get to bring resources in to support them, to build them a career, support them in their dreams. I get to take that team and then utilize that team on the battlefield of life and business, which is, you know, prospecting, right? And then take prospects and get them into our program and transform their life. And for those of you who don't know, I'm the CEO of Kinobody Movie Star Coaching. And we transform average and ordinary people into movie star shape in less than 6 months with our program. And
you look like a movie star.
Thank you.
Look fucking,
I appreciate it. I have a 5-stage plan.
Five-stage plan, really?
If you want to hear it. Yeah.
Really?
Phase 1.
Are you going to sell me on this too?
We're going to hit the billion mark and scale. Okay? So multi-billionaire in the next 10 years. Master business. Okay. I want to start a hotel chain, restaurants, all kinds of cool shit. And just have tons of money for my business and tech and AI and all this cool stuff. Phase 2 is become a movie star. Believe it or not. Want to star in movies, maybe be the next Captain America, Batman. We'll see. Okay. Action movie, I think. Some drama, whatever. And then from there, the phase 3 is going to be, I actually want to start a church. Want to start a church, be a pastor. And then phase 4, President of the United States. Okay?
Wow.
Lead the free nation of the world. So that's my plan. I actually wrote that down as 14, but yeah.
Wow. Those are some big goals. That's incredible, man. And you know, we'll probably wrap up here soon. But you know, I feel like I feel like we're throwing around 100,000, million. You guys want to scale to 1 billion, and I feel like for a lot of people, that it may seem out of reach, right? So I guess for you, what would be the piece of advice for people looking to get into this online space? They're able to travel, they're able to, I mean, you've been in so many different states, and I know you were traveling to another event, and you're going to Colorado or something for Ravi's stuff. That's gonna be great.
Yeah.
Shout out to him. Great guy. But, what would be the one thing that you would tell people that watching this, that, maybe they're going through depression, maybe they're anxious, maybe they're, looking to bridge that gap and make that gap further, between, where they want to go and whatnot. What would be that one piece of advice to, even help someone make their first, $5,000, $10,000, online, to give them that confidence?
Honestly, the first thing that I did is I invested in myself. I personally think the best investment you can make is in yourself, right? Alex Hormozi talks about this, right? We all know and love Alex, right? Which is, he calls it the S in me 500, right? Don't invest in the S&P 500. That's 10% per year. You can get 10% a day, 100% per day with the S in me 500. So you need to grow you, because your company will never exceed the level of leadership, the level of skills that you are as an individual. And that's what I'm realizing. Like, holy crap, my company is not growing at the level I want. I need to level me up. I need to level up the leaders in my company up. Okay. And so for you to level up, you need to ask yourself those 3 questions that we talked about, the career triad. And if you think that you'll be naturally good at sales, I could tell you that if you enjoy talking naturally, if you enjoy naturally connecting with people, you're naturally kind of extroverted and you enjoy connecting with people, sales is going to be an awesome thing for you. Okay. So I would join your program, man. I'd join SDR.
Learn remote triaging.
I join, there's tons of other guys that do it in the space, but Kekoa is excellent at it. If you can find a company that will train you for free, I know that we, depending on your skill set and your hunger and coachability levels, and if you've been following us, we'll actually take you under our wing. We actually used to charge our sales reps between $1,000 and $3,000.
That's a smart model.
First it was $1,000, that was $2,000, that was $3,000 to actually join our sales team. And I found the level of commitment and buy-in was nuts, and they took action on all this stuff. And it was well worth it. I mean, there's people out there charging $10,000, $5,000, $8,000 to learn sales and don't even get guaranteed placement in a company. Right. We will take you in, we'll teach you, we'll train you, and then we'll actually, give you a spot to actually be on the team.
What's that skill set that you feel like is necessary to exceed with sales?
Confidence and courage. You need to have the courage to pick up the phone. You need to have the confidence to know that they're going to buy and that they're going to say yes, even when they say no. I just have such superior confidence to most people that it's like, this person can tell me no 14 times. I know they're going to buy. I just don't give up. Persistence, grit, scrappiness. That's what, funny enough, my first pet. Okay. When I was like 4 years old, I met this little frog in our new home, and I picked him up and whatever. And I said, Mom, I'm going to name him Scrappy. And little did I know, all my friends would describe me as Scrappy. They're like, man, I know Bridger's going to be successful. Even when I wasn't, they're like, yeah, I know he's going to be successful because he's so scrappy. Yeah. Right. And if you look it up, it's determination, right? It's the willingness to keep going when you hit no, keep going when you hit an obstacle. And you need to develop that fortitude. Otherwise you won't be successful because, if you read Think and Grow Rich, the 3 feet from gold principle, right? This guy had this mine. He went in there, he struck gold, and then pretty soon the gold ore run out, and he thought it dried up, and he gave up. And little did he know, all he needed to do was seek expert advice, invest in himself, hire a prospector for $50 or whatever the price was back there, 50 cents, to do a little excavation and find out that same mine, if they would have just went 3 feet from where they were digging, they would have struck gold, and there was millions and millions of dollars that were pulled out of that cave. So long story short, don't give up, seek expert advice, and you can do that through investing in yourself. And if you don't have the money, then go get a job. I started bagging groceries, making $7.85 an hour, pushing carts in the freezing cold in Idaho, 2 feet of snow, freezing my ass off, almost getting hit by cars sliding around in the parking lot, bagging groceries for grumpy old ladies. And I took that money, I saved it up. The rest of my friends were buying Twinkies, Doritos, all this stuff, and I was like, I'm not doing that. Because you got to calculate how much you're making for how much time that takes. Yeah. I calculated a $20 cheeseburger is 3 hours bagging groceries. There's no way I'm going to buy a cheeseburger if it's going to take 3 hours of my time. So I saved that cash up and I bought a $497 Ty Lopez Millionaire Mentor course. And I learned about personality profiling, finding my strengths. I learned about how to, attract and find good mentors. A lot of stuff that I learned.
And I think on that point, I think so many people, let's say you're making $8 an hour, right? Or let's say you're making $10 an hour, right? Well, let's say, for example, you save up, $2,000. So how much time is that? Like 200 hours. That's literally 200 hours, probably 250. Close to 250 hours, right? Because taxes, governments will take some. And then you're left with, $2,000. Well, a lot of people go out and they'll spend it on bars, they'll spend it on drinks, they'll, go do the clubs and they'll have fun and they'll blow the majority of that money, right? And go back and work the same job, making $10 an hour. But what if that perspective shift was taking that $2,000, right? Maybe you still have some fun, you go do, but you take $1,500 of that and then you invest that into something that can make you $30 an hour, $50 an hour, right? $100 an hour. And then to make $2,000, right? Let's say you're making $100 an hour with something like sales, and this is what, our students go through. This is what, I realized, was the potential with sales. But let's say you're able to make $100 an hour because you close one deal, for 4 hours of work, right? Let's say you bring home $500. Well, then that same $2,000 comes from 20 hours of your time or 25 hours of your time, right? And then you have an extra 225 hours to go either make more money, right? To go spend time with your friends. And I think so many people are so caught up in the whole saving money that they never put it back in themselves to just increase their earning capacity. Because if you increase your earning capacity, then everything's subjective, right?
I agree.
That $30 cheeseburger might only cost you 15 minutes of time rather than 3 hours, right?
100%.
And I think that's the biggest perspective shift.
100%. You got to get the skills. You got to get the right mentors. And if you do those two things and you know that at the end of the day, if you don't give up, you'll be successful, just know that. That's what the Slight Edge is about. If you just keep going, do the small things over and over and over and over again, you will be successful eventually. One last thing that we'll leave you with is success is exponential, not linear. I'll let you guys think about that. Success is exponential, not linear.
Are we going to leave that mysterious?
You can expand on it if you want, or we're going to leave it mysterious.
I would agree with that. I think success is a hockey stick curve, you know, and even for the business that we had, right? We launched this offer, you know, maybe 7-8 months ago officially, you know, it's been in the works for a long time, but you know, we were building up the roots. Like I think success is like a tree, right? Success might be the apples on the tree, but the whole time you're building up the roots, and everything, every course you buy or every failure you have, or, you know, every scam you go through or whatever it is, right? All these rejections, that's building up your roots to form the tree of your success, right? And I think so many people, it's kind of as the gold thing said, they keep going and then they give up, right? But if you keep going through, at some points those roots go through, and then boom, you're like, you could be a fucking bamboo shoot, you know, like bamboo. I was in Brazil. Bamboo grew, like my girlfriend's father had a little tape on the bamboo, and 2 days later after rain, it grew up 6 feet. Right?
It's nuts.
But imagine if the success curve was like that. You're building up all these roots, and then once you break free from the ground, the roots might take 9 years to get there.
Yeah.
But then once you're through, you're to the sky's the limit, right? There's really no limit. So I think that's the biggest takeaway I've had, you know, from the past years, and, you know, learning from you, learning from other mentors. So yeah, was there anything else you wanted to touch on?
If you're hungry, if you're coachable, you want to win, you're willing to do whatever it takes, and you have this hunger and drive, and you like to talk to people, you want to help people, you want to be involved in the fitness space, link up with me. And if you're not, if you want to learn the skills, you feel like you're not there yet, work with Kekoa, because he'll show you from the ground up. Trust me, this program's legit.
We got some stuff. We got some people for you.
He's got some good stuff. So yeah, man, I really appreciate you having me on, bro.
Thank you, man.
We're going to have a great weekend. We're off to dinner. We wish you were joining us. And yeah, hit me up on Instagram too, Bridger_Rogers. You can DM me your questions.
Have you got TikTok? You got TikTok, Twitter?
Yeah, I got TikTok too. I think I have like 100K
We'll put everything. We'll put everything in.
And you'll see some of my dating stuff. I accidentally went viral on TikTok and had like a video that hit 10 million views and gained like 100,000 followers. And
Teach me the ways. Teach me the ways.
So yeah,
we're scaling on everything. So.
You're scaling on everything. I like it.
But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. Bridger, thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
And we'll see you in the next one. And you'll have me on your podcast, right?
Yes, sir.
We can document this.
Bridging the gap coming. We'll see when it comes out, but definitely by April 2023. In the meantime, you can follow me, stay in touch with Kekoa.
There you go.
Make sure you like this video. Leave your comments down below of what you thought. And definitely subscribe to his podcast, because you're going to get a ton of value. I know he's coming out with more. He's going to introduce
probably be on YouTube and
great people.
Spotify.
So, excellent.
It's good. Thanks, man. Cheers.